And literally, the gangsters were funding the movie, and they were using the movie as a laundromat.
A chilling confession from Wesley Snipes not only exposes the filthy underbelly of the film industry, but also opens the door to a hidden world where Hollywood runs on dirty money power and ruthless rules of the game. Hollywood, a place where dazzling lights can turn a face into a legend with a single role, but can also crush a career in the blink of an eye. Wesley Snipes, once hailed for Blade and Drop Zone, has tasted both glory and downfall from a top action star to a man brought to court and cast into obscurity. But the biggest shock didn't stop there. Snipes also revealed that it wasn't just him. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the golden boy of The Cosby Show who stood beside him in Drop Zone, may also have had his career silently sabotaged by Hollywood. Could it be that an invisible hand decides who gets to shine and who is cast into the abyss? Get ready, because what you're about to hear will shake your image of Hollywood to its core. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to uncover the truth behind the spotlight. A mysterious childhood that forged a silver screen assassin, Wesley Snipes. Hollywood can turn a nobody into a star and just as easily hurl a legend into oblivion. Wesley Snipes is the most vivid proof of that. After the explosive opening of his shocking confession about Hollywood now, it's time to step back to rewind the wheel of time and discover what shaped a Wesley Snipes so powerful, fierce, and full of drive. Because behind the dazzling lights, behind the action-packed blockbusters, was a black boy born into poverty, nurturing his dream with iron discipline and an unbreakable spirit. Without understanding Wesley's childhood, one could never truly grasp why he became Blade, the legendary vampire hunter, or why Hollywood was so willing to break his wings after once lifting him high. Wesley Trent Snipes was born on July 31, 1962 in Orlando, Florida, into a modest middle-class family. His father, Wesley Rudolph Snipes, was an aircraft engineer. His mother, Marion, worked as a teacher's assistant. He was named after his father, a generational expectation perhaps that the boy would carry on the family's tradition through hard work and discipline. However, fate soon moved young Wesley to the Bronx, New York, one of the roughest neighborhoods in America during the 1970s. It was a place where violence, poverty, and crime seeped into every corner. But it was also in the Bronx where Wesley's artistic flame was first kindled. From a young age, Wesley was different. At 12, while other kids his age were still playing basketball on the streets, this skinny black boy asked his parents to let him study martial arts. And it wasn't just a passing interest. Wesley trained intensely, eventually earning a black belt and mastering various disciplines from karate to aikido. Those grueling years of training forged both a superior physicality and an unshakable mental toughness qualities that would later become his trademark on screen. Many viewers watching Blade assumed the fight scenes were the result of visual effects, but few knew that Wesley had been practicing martial arts since his teens, with over 40 years of real-world combat experience before Hollywood ever knew his name. Alongside martial arts, Wesley also showed an early passion for theater. He attended the Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Performing Arts in Manhattan, a school known for producing Broadway legends. But just as his dream was beginning to blossom, it was suddenly cut short. His parents decided to move the family back to Florida before he could graduate. It was a major blow for a teenager to be pulled away from such a promising artistic environment. Most kids might have crumbled under that kind of disappointment, but not Wesley. He treated it as a challenge to toughen his resolve. After finishing high school, he returned to New York, was accepted into SUNY Purchase College, and earned his bachelor's degree in performing arts. It was at this very school that Wesley Snipes began to shine as a raw gem. Professors noted him for his extraordinary discipline, always early to class, relentlessly dedicated, never hesitating to repeat a scene dozens of times to reach the most authentic performance. Classmates recall how Wesley would often blend martial arts into his acting, creating a presence on stage that few young actors could match. It was the fusion of body and spirit, of the agility from the dojo and the subtlety of theatrical expression. All signs pointed to a dazzling film career waiting just beyond the horizon. Entering the world of art with bare hands. From a harsh childhood in the Bronx, Wesley Snipes stepped into the world of art with nothing but a heart burning with fire. If his early years forged in him discipline and willpower, then his youth was the time when that discipline became a career, and that willpower turned into stardom. And within less than a decade, the name Wesley Snipes had gone from a complete unknown to one of the most powerful black actors in Hollywood, sought after no less than any contemporary superstar. But the path wasn't lined with roses. It was a journey marked by challenges, bold decisions, and achievements that demanded respect. The first turning point came in 1986 when Wesley was just 23. At a small talent competition in New York, he caught the eye of a casting director. His debut role in the comedy Wildcats wasn't a blockbuster, but it was enough for audiences to remember the tall, sharp-eyed black man with a chiseled physique. That same year, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity landed in his lap. Legendary director Martin Scorsese chose Wesley to play the antagonist in Michael Jackson's Bad Music video. This wasn't just an MV, it was a cultural moment with Michael as a street leader and Wesley as his rival. That brief scene brought Wesley Snipes into the view of millions around the globe. Few knew that this small break would open a massive door. Spike Lee, the famed African-American director, took immediate notice and began considering Wesley for several upcoming projects. By the late 1980s, Hollywood was starving for fresh faces. Wesley Snipes didn't just bring sharp features and a fighter's body. He exuded a rare blend of street smarts and intellect-rugged charm and iron discipline. When invited to audition for Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, 1989, Wesley declined a minor supporting role and instead chose to play the lead role of Willie Mays Hayes in Major League. It was a bold move. Though Major League was just a sports comedy, it became a surprise hit, grossing tens of millions and making Wesley Snipes a familiar face on the silver screen. It was the first sign that he wasn't content to be a background player. He wanted roles big enough to define a legacy. The first major peak in Snipes' career came with New Jack City 1991, in which he played Nino Brown, a ruthless drug lord, magnetic yet chilling. Nino Brown became a pop culture icon, a villain who sparked national conversation. With this role, Wesley proved he could carry a major film both as a box office draw and as a serious actor. The movie was not only a commercial success, but also kicked off a new era of black gangster cinema in the 1990s. When New Jack City premiered, critics hailed Wesley as a formidable new star, and from there his career rocketed. He went on to collaborate regularly with Spike Lee on artistic projects like Mo Better Blues, 1990, and Jungle Fever, 1991. In Jungle Fever, Wesley played a black architect in an interracial relationship with an Italian-American woman, exploring the sensitive topic of cross-cultural romance. The role not only showcased his dramatic depth, but also placed him at the center of timely social discourse. Snipes proved he wasn't just an action star, he was an actor capable of reaching emotional and thematic complexity. What truly set Wesley Snipes apart, however, was his ability to blend martial arts with acting. When Passenger 57, 1992 was released, Wesley officially entered the ranks of A-list action stars. As Federal Agent John Cutter, he delivered intense, breathless action scenes combining masterful martial arts with a cold, magnetic presence. The film grossed over $44 million in the US, a major figure for a mid-budget action flick at the time. The media dubbed him the heir to Bruce Willis in the anti-terror action genre. The now famous line, "Always bet on black," became a personal slogan and pop culture catchphrase. What followed was a string of blockbusters. White Men Can't Jump, 1992. A streetball comedy with Woody Harrelson not only crushed the box office, but became a classic. Demolition Man, 1993, where Snipes played the criminal Simon Phoenix opposite Sylvester Stallone, left a lasting impression as one of the decade's most memorable villains. Drop Zone, 1994, a skydiving action flick where Snipes starred alongside Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And Money Train, 1995, which reunited him with Woody Harrelson in a tale of brotherhood and betrayal. Notably, to Wong Fu. Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, 1995, showed a completely different Wesley, playing a drag queen feminine, flamboyant, and humorous. The role demonstrated his boundless versatility as a muscular action star, fearlessly transformed into a completely contrasting character. Few black male actors at the time would dare to take on such a part, and Wesley's boldness earned him critical praise for his courage. But all of that was only a prelude to the career-defining blockbuster Blade, 1998. As a half-human, half-vampire hunter, Wesley Snipes created an icon. Blade grossed over $150 million globally, a massive figure, and more importantly, it laid the groundwork for the entire modern superhero era. Before Blade, it was widely believed that superhero films with black leads were doomed to fail. But Blade shattered that myth. Many critics and even Marvel Studios admitted that without Blade there might never have been an MCU. Wesley Snipes not only saved Marvel from financial ruin at the time, he helped build a multi-billion-dollar industry. Beyond Blade, Wesley starred in numerous other successful late 90s films: U.S. Marshals, 1998, a sequel to The Fugitive opposite Tommy Lee Jones; The Art of War 2000, a complex political action thriller; and of course Blade 2 2002 and Blade Trinity 2004, both commercial hits, with Blade 2 directed by Guillermo del Toro, earning critical acclaim. Throughout his career, Snipes earned more than just box office numbers. He won the Volpe Cup at the Venice Film Festival in 1997 for one-night stand proof that he wasn't just a blockbuster name, but a genuine acting talent. He also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, cementing his contribution to cinema. By the end of the 90s, Wesley Snipes had become one of the most powerful black male actors in the world, directly competing with the likes of Denzel Washington and Will Smith. What made Wesley so compelling was his range. He could be a cold-blooded villain like Nino Brown, a brave hero like John Cutter, a supernatural warrior like Blade, or a graceful drag queen. He was an action star, a dramatic actor, and a comedic performer. Few in Hollywood at the time had that kind of flexibility, and yet just as he stood at the peak, the seeds of downfall began to appear. His talent, strong personality, and desire for control sometimes made him difficult to work with in a collaborative environment. Hollywood cheered for his box office numbers, but was wary of his uncompromising nature. Conflicts with studios and a few unlucky career choices would soon send Wesley from the brightest star in the sky to the depths of Hollywood's shadows within the next decade. From the heights of glory to the depths of ruin, the sudden fall of Wesley Snipes. The story begins with the very franchise that had launched him to the top. Blade. After the resounding success of the first film 1998 and its sequel 2002 directed by Guillermo del Toro, Wesley Snipes entered Blade Trinity 2004 as a powerful star. But this was also where the real tragedy began. Rumors quickly surfaced behind the scenes. Snipes allegedly would only film close-ups, spent most of his time hiding in his trailer smoking marijuana, and communicated with the crew through sticky notes signed Blade. Comedian Patton Oswalt, who appeared in the film, even claimed Snipes once choked director David S. Goyer. The truth may have been exaggerated, but the public immediately believed it. A black star who was temperamental, difficult, arrogant, that image stuck to Wesley like glue. Snipes later denied many of the accusations, emphasizing, "If I had really choked the director, I'd be in jail." He argued that the whole narrative was fueled by racial bias. If a white guy says it, people believe it instantly. The big black man must be the problem. But in Hollywood, the truth often matters less than the story being told. And the story of an uncontrollable Wesley Snipes spread too quickly, landing him on an unofficial blacklist. From a prized asset, he suddenly became a risk no studio wanted to take. But the behind-the-scenes scandal was only the tip of the iceberg. The bigger issue was taxes. In 2006, Wesley Snipes was charged with failing to file federal income tax returns from 1999 to 2001, with an estimated loss of $7 million. Snipes claimed he was simply following advice from accountants and an anti-tax group who insisted that citizens were not constitutionally obligated to pay taxes. That argument was quickly rejected. The 2008 trial became a media circus dubbed by the press as one of the biggest tax cases in Hollywood history. Wesley was sentenced to 3 years in prison for willfully failing to file tax returns. For an A-list star, it was essentially a death sentence for his career. On December 9, 2010, Wesley Snipes entered McKean Federal Correctional Institution, a federal prison in Pennsylvania. The same star who had once ruled the screen now lived behind 4 walls, completely cut off from Hollywood. He remained there until April 2013. During those 3 years, Hollywood had changed rapidly. The MCU exploded with Iron Man 2008 and The Avengers 2012. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson rose to become the new king of action, and Wesley had disappeared. By the time he was released, the world had moved on: new heroes, new faces, and there was seemingly no room left for the legendary Blade. Snipes' post-prison career was little more than a shadow. He appeared in The Expendables 3 2014, with Stallone, a notable return, but not enough to restore his reputation. Most of his subsequent roles were in B-movies, limited releases, or straight-to-DVD productions that generated little buzz. Once the face on blockbuster posters, Snipes was now relegated to low-budget projects with no audience, no momentum. From Marvel's savior, he had become an outsider. What stung more than prison or unemployment was Hollywood's cold shoulder. Hollywood is known to forgive white stars drenched in scandal. Robert Downey Jr. battled addiction and returned gloriously as Iron Man. Charlie Sheen still earned millions despite sex and drug scandals. But with Wesley Snipes, his mistakes were magnified beyond repair. Was it personal misfortune or evidence of the very thing he had accused an industry with hidden racial biases? Snipes once recalled a haunting incident driving a legally rented Mustang back from a set. He was suddenly pulled over by Los Angeles police. The car had been reported as stolen, and he was forced to the ground handcuffed and had a gun pressed to his head. For him, it wasn't a coincidence. How could a rental car with all the paperwork suddenly be stolen right when I'm driving it? Snipes asked bitterly. The question has never been answered, but it fueled his belief that a higher force was orchestrating his downfall. In the eyes of fans, Snipes once embodied power and freedom. But in the eyes of Hollywood, perhaps he went too far. He rejected roles that reinforced racial stereotypes. He sued major studios over discrimination. He spoke publicly about the unwritten rules of the industry. In a system that prefers obedient stars, Snipes became a thorn. And when the opportunity came a scandal, a tax mistake, Hollywood had no hesitation in letting him fall. Some say Wesley Snipes was a victim of himself, too confident, too proud, unwilling to bow. Others believe he was a victim of a system, one that doesn't want a black star to wield too much power. Perhaps both are true, but the undeniable reality is this: within just a few years, Wesley Snipes plummeted from the peak to the abyss. Strangely, even after being cast out, Snipes retained the admiration of his fans. When Eddie Murphy called him back for Dolomite Is My Name, 2019, and later Coming To. America 2021 audiences cheered. People never forgot Blade, never forgot Nino Brown, never forgot John Cutter. The glow of his stardom still lingered, only now it was obscured by Hollywood's invisible walls. Wesley Snipes' fall is one of the most tragic stories in modern Hollywood. It is not just a personal downfall, but a mirror reflecting the dark side of a ruthless system, where stars can be lifted to the heavens today and thrown into the abyss tomorrow. And in the case of Wesley Snipes, the fall wasn't just unexpected. It left a lasting scar on an entire generation of black artists. Snipes exposes Hollywood's underbelly, dirty money, racial bias, and invisible hands. If the fall after Blade Trinity and the tax scandal marked a tragic turning point in Wesley Snipes' career, it was what he revealed afterward that truly shocked the public. Because to the world, Snipes was not just a fallen star, he became a living witness who dared to expose the dark side of Hollywood, a place where bright stage lights hide a shadowy underworld. His revelations opened a door into a secretive room where dirty money is laundered, racial bias is cultivated, and an artist's career can be destroyed with a single nod from those in power. One of Snipes' most shocking confessions was that he once acted in a film funded by underground forces. He recounted how upon arriving on set, he discovered that real-life gangsters, literal street-level criminals, were financing the project. For Snipes, this wasn't just a shocking truth, but clear evidence that Hollywood had long been fertile ground for money laundering. Films, especially action or commercial ones, sometimes existed without explanation, so long as the money kept flowing. Snipes bluntly stated, "They use film to launder money. This isn't new, it's been happening since the 19th century." It's not hard to find historical examples. The 1MDB scandal surrounding The Wolf of Wall Street was just the tip of the iceberg, but Snipes suggested that such dirty money had been infiltrating Hollywood for a long time. Movies that seemed inexplicable, unlikely to turn a profit, yet backed by massive funding, were sometimes just tools to legitimize illicit capital. Snipes had seen it with his own eyes and heard it with his own ears, but when he spoke up, few dared to repeat it. In Hollywood, silence is often safer than the truth. But Snipes didn't stop at the money. He also directly addressed the underlying racial prejudice within the film industry. Hollywood has a model of success it wants to preserve, and that rarely centers around black actors. If you ask people to name a successful black star, not many would mention me, even though I starred in nearly a dozen blockbusters, Snipes said bitterly. And he wasn't wrong. Though Blade is credited with paving the way for the modern superhero boom, Snipes' contribution is rarely acknowledged by Marvel or Western media in the same breath as Robert Downey Jr. or Hugh Jackman. That discrimination wasn't just theoretical, it was reflected in scripts and opportunities. Snipes once declined to join a sequel to New Jack City because he didn't want to keep playing black criminal stereotypes. He explained, "We already have too many images of drug dealers degenerates." I didn't want to prolong that narrative, but that refusal may have cost him favor with Hollywood's power players. In an industry where profit outweighs artistic purpose, a star who dares challenge the formula often pays the price. And that price, according to Snipes, wasn't just lost roles. He recounted the now infamous incident when Los Angeles police stopped his legally rented Mustang reported stolen just as he was driving it from a film set. He was forced to lie face down on the ground, handcuffed with a gun to his head. Too perfect to be a coincidence, Snipes emphasized. How could my legally rented car be reported stolen right when I was driving it? To him, it wasn't just a fluke, it was a message. Hollywood has many ways to make someone fall from grace, and pulling him into legal trouble was just one of them. Those experiences convinced Snipes he was up against an entire system. A system hungry for money control and preservation of its own image, especially wary of black stars who rise too far. Hollywood may crown you as king when you deliver profits, but it can just as quickly turn you into a villain the moment you rebel. For Snipes, his lawsuit against New Line Cinema and director David S. Goyer over discrimination during Blade Trinity was nothing short of signing a death warrant for his career. When I spoke out, I became a thorn in their side, and they never forget that. The way Hollywood treated Wesley Snipes reminded many of the fate of other black artists. Dave Chappelle once walked away from a $100 million deal due to the unspoken rules he saw behind the curtain. Cat Williams has hinted multiple times that those who don't conform get shut out. And Wesley Snipes, with his candor pride and commitment to dignified black representation, was a textbook case of what happens when a star refuses to play by the rules. Of course, some people have pushed back on Snipes' claims. They argue that his downfall was due to his own bad decisions, from financial mismanagement to unprofessional behavior on set. But a closer look reveals a more complex picture. Personal mistakes may explain part of it, but systemic bias and behind-the-scenes power dynamics also played a major role. And that is what Snipes wants to make clear: the truth is never black and white. From Wesley Snipes to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the lingering question of Hollywood's invisible hand. The fall of Wesley Snipes once rocked Hollywood, but what was even more shocking was his implication that he wasn't alone. Snipes suggested that Malcolm-Jamal Warner, his co-star in Drop Zone 1994, may also have had his career quietly sabotaged by Hollywood. This was no longer just a story of one action star silenced after success, but a warning about an entire power system where an invisible hand could decide who gets to shine and who gets erased. Snipes fell from grace amid scandal, while Malcolm, the golden boy of The Cosby Show, seemed to have the world ahead of him, only to quietly vanish from the mainstream. One was knocked down in noise, the other drowned in silence, but both left behind the same haunting question: were their careers deliberately controlled, sabotaged after sharing the screen in Drop Zone? The story begins at a fateful intersection in 1994. Drop Zone premiered with Wesley Snipes as Pete Nessop, a courageous FBI agent, and Malcolm-Jamal Warner as Terry, the loyal younger brother. For the audience, it was just a gripping action film. But for observers, it was a moment when two rising black stars, one nearing the peak of his ascent, Blade was only a few years away, and the other just stepping out from a hit sitcom, shared the screen. And from there, both would soon face what Snipes called Hollywood's punishment. Snipes has openly admitted after Drop Zone he believed Malcolm-Jamal Warner's career was also intentionally slowed, mirroring the way his own had been sabotaged. Malcolm was no unknown name. Born in 1970, he became a cultural icon at just 13 years old, playing Theo Huxtable in The Cosby Show. At 16, he earned an Emmy nomination, a rare feat for a black teenage actor. Throughout the 1980s, Malcolm was America's son, beloved by millions. But when the sitcom ended in 1992, that spotlight began to dim. Hollywood, notoriously unforgiving to child actors, quickly typecast Malcolm as Theo, just as it later reduced Snipes to action star, refusing to let him evolve. Drop Zone should have been a breakthrough. Acting alongside a rising Wesley Snipes gave Malcolm a chance to shed the sitcom image and enter the world of serious film. But instead of a career lift, his film path nearly stalled. He returned to television, starring in Malcolm and Eddie 1996-2000, then pursued historical projects like Tyson and the Tuskegee Airmen. The work was solid, the effort was clear. He even won a Grammy in 2015 for Jesus Children, but the big screen comeback never came. Speculation began to grow. Snipes had already declared that Hollywood was afraid of black actors who stepped outside their box. He refused to reprise his drug dealer role in New Jack City 2 and was swiftly sidelined. Malcolm followed a similar path. He stayed clean, chose honorable roles, avoided gimmicks. The result? A soft punishment. No scandal, no smear campaigns, but no major roles either. The shadow of Bill Cosby only made things worse for Malcolm. When Cosby's scandal erupted between 2014-2015, Hollywood rushed to erase the legacy of the once-beloved sitcom. Actors tied to The Cosby Show, though uninvolved, were caught in the fallout. Malcolm, already sidelined, became nearly invisible in the industry. The name, once linked to America's childhood memories, became a burden no one wanted to invoke. Set next to Wesley Snipes, the picture becomes clearer. One was taken down publicly through headlines and courtrooms. The other faded quietly, relegated to niche roles with no more A-list leads. Two different paths, same outcome, removed from the game while still at their prime. Was it just coincidence, or as Snipes implied, did Hollywood deliberately sabotage Malcolm after Drop Zone, sending the message that two black stars shining together was simply too much? For those who believe in conspiracy theories, this feels far from accidental. They argue that Hollywood maintains a silent order, allowing a few black stars to become icons for the sake of diversity optics, while secretly controlling and limiting how far any of them can rise. Wesley, too outspoken, too bold, was broken. Malcolm, too clean, too principled, was forgotten. And in the end, both became proof that in the Hollywood game, only those in power decide where the spotlight shines and who is cast into the shadows. Hollywood can make a talent a legend, but it can also crush a career in an instant. Wesley Snipes and Malcolm-Jamal Warner, two once celebrated stars who suddenly fell from grace, are living proof of that darker truth. Was it mere coincidence, or does an invisible hand truly exist, pulling the strings of their fate? The answer remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: their stories will make you see Hollywood in a way you never have before. If you found this video compelling, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to uncover the shocking secrets hiding behind the glamorous lights.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.